My name's Drew.
My name is Taryor.
And welcome to the Drew and Taryor Show. We're going to play a little game called the 2-minute drill. We're going to have 2 minutes to answer a question. What is the first question of the day?
The James Harden trade, would it be good or bad for OKC?
This was a move that they were probably going to have to make sooner or later.
Yes.
But what this does is there's only a small amount of time that you have to win an NBA championship.
Agreed.
This hurts them. I don't know if I would agree with this trade right now. And I think it hurts them right now.
Agreed. The Thunder is a team right now, they're looking at the finals. That's their goal. They just came up the finals against the Heat. And they let go of James Harden, who was an integral part of their whole season and the playoffs. So I don't understand how that helps them right now with Kevin Martin.
Not only that, this team struggled with the San Antonio Spurs.
They did.
They did. And you know what? James Harden played a role in them coming back. He didn't have a fantastic playoffs, but he's been there before. Now he's been with them through the finals. He's been with them through the playoffs. They don't have him now. Hey, they got some draft picks out of this. They're not going to have to pay James Harden. But how often do you have a chance to win a championship in the league? It doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen, and in that sense, Kevin Martin don't fit the culture or bring that dynamic aspect that James Harden brought to that team. He doesn't rebound, he doesn't provide you with the assist.
He doesn't play any defense.
And there's the chemistry issue. James Harden, that's a brotherhood in Oklahoma that they had. So I just feel that Kevin Martin is not going to be able to fill that void for now.
I think it hurts their psyche, too. 3
does.
days before, these guys were clearly shocked. Kevin Durant tweeted, WOW. That was his tweet when this happened.
And you can see it in their demeanor on the court right now. Russell Westbrook is, he's the same old Russell Westbrook, but you can see Kevin Durant, he's not as comfortable out there. They don't have that calming factor in James Harden with them.
And this team is struggling right now.
They're struggling.
They don't look like the same team.
They don't have that same identity that they had last year and that they had throughout the previous years. And I think that's really affecting how they're going.
And I wonder what Scott Brooks looks at this team and looks at the rotation. Look, he was the guy who came in. He knew what his role was. He was going to get the ball and he was going to score. Kevin Martin, I don't know exactly. I'm looking not to place it on him.
What was the most underrated free agent move of the offseason?
The most underrated free agent move of the offseason, it would easily have to be Andre Karolinko, I think. Here's a guy who was out the NBA during the lockout season, and, and previous to that, he had faced so many injuries and was almost out the league. So he used that season overseas in Moscow to kind of, build himself back up and, re-energize his career. And now he's come back with the perfect system with Rick Adams and what it really suits him. And now, Kevin Love being out, he's playing that power forward position. And he's really looking like the old Andre Karolinko.
Andre Karolinko's a real good one. I'm going to give you one that not only do I think is a great move for them, for the team that he's on, a great move for him and his career, and that's O.J. Mayo.
I agree.
This is a guy who he's not really, he's this combo guard. He's definitely more of a scoring player. You saw what he did a couple games ago. He had 6 threes.
2 30-point back-to-back games.
30-point back-to-back games. This team in Dallas, I like this team. I think that they're a dark horse team, and I think that he's a player that can do a lot of scoring for them when they need it. J.J. Barrera was a player that they had before and who scored that they had off the bench. They've got a couple guys who can do it, guys like Vince Carter. These guys are aging. This guy's in his prime. He can handle the basketball. He can shoot it from anywhere on the court. And like you said with Andre Karolinko, where is his position going to be? O.J. Mayo has a spot on this team, period. I don't know how Dallas can have any other thing but optimism for what he's doing for their team.
Well, I agree with the O.J. Mayo sign like that. He has more of a defined position, even going throughout the forward throughout the whole season. Karolinko, if Kevin Love comes back, he might go back to the bench, or he might just get lost. But I think he's a more all-around player that can fit in anywhere. O.J. Mayo, like you said, is a guy who was a 20-point scorer 3 years ago. Now he moves back to the bench in Memphis, and we saw his scoring go down from there. But like you said, it's good for his career. And he can establish himself.
Both of these guys have had injury problems.
Well, not necessarily O.J. Mayo.
Are the Knicks for real?
Look, okay, so the Knicks, they have a lot of talent. They picked up a lot of talent. They have a lot of talent.
A lot of old talent.
A lot of old talent, but this team is, I don't think they're for real. But they're gelling right now. They have a lot of good talented players, and they've been blowing teams out. And they have a lot. They have scorers. They have guys who can defend the ball. They have guards. They have a lot of players who can do a lot of things. I do not trust them as a legitimate contender in the East or in the NBA, period.
I do not trust the Knicks with anything. It's early in the season. It's a three. They're 3-0, but they haven't played. The only good team they've really played was the Heat, and that was an emotional game with Hurricane Sandy and everything like. So I don't trust them. They're way too old. They have 3 of the oldest players in the league. They have the oldest rookie in NBA history, Paolo Prigioni. So I don't trust them. Melo's going to do his thing. He's going to go out and get you 25 to 28 points a game. Where does Amari fit in when he comes back in that team off the knee injury?
Yo, look, Carmelo Anthony is one of the best
if not the best
scorer in the NBA. Tyson Chandler coming off the Defensive Player of the Year. They've got a lot of pieces around them. Raymond Felton has been playing well.
He's been playing well, but I still think Raymond Felton has a lot to.
He has a lot. But you have to look at their team. They've been playing really, really well. I don't know a lot of NBA.
3 games.
And 3 games. It's early in the season, but we have a tendency to always, in this 24-hour news cycle, to always want to judge something as soon as it's happening.
Exactly.
So I don't think anybody in the NBA looks at this team and goes, hey, this team has a really good opportunity to win a championship, but they have really good scores. They have really good
scores, and I think a guy that we're not focusing on because he's hurt right now is Iman Shumpert. When he comes in, what's his role going to be? He was huge for them last year. He was probably the only defensive presence for them. And I mean, to start the season, Gerald Smith has been, he's been Gerald. He's shooting. He's actually making an effort to play defense. Same thing with Melo. But like you said, it's 3 games in the season. How is this going to go forward?
Not only that, this team. Let me just finish this one point. This team always has a problem integrating injured players back onto the team.
Exactly.
Who would be the most surprising team in the NBA?
The most surprising team in the NBA, I think, might be the Orlando Magic. Simply because we all know who they lost, Dwight Howard. Biggest acquisition in the offseason, right? Okay. Now, to rebuild the whole team, got a rookie coach in Jacques Vaughn, who many are not expecting much out of them. Now, they've opened the season 2-1. That has to be surprising to anybody. They have a rookie 2-guard by the name of Daquan Jones, who I'm sure nobody's ever heard of. So right now they're improving. We've heard. We're nuts. Yeah. So, But I just think everybody didn't expect them to come out the gate this early. But they've shown a lot. They're fighting and they're playing hard. So I think they're the most surprising team we'll see.
I like Aaron Aflalo on this team.
Yes.
He's a solid guard for them. I think the Ryan Anderson move hurts them a little bit. You know,
it does.
It does hurt them a little bit. But
they lack that 3-point shooter without.
But without Dwight Howard, this team becomes less of a 3-point shooting team. It has to become more of a balanced team.
Right.
And a lot of times, that's hurt them. This team isn't expected to go anywhere. So I think the burden is off of their shoulders. I'm going to give you a really surprise team that I don't think a lot of people are even going to think is a surprise team because they're not necessarily surprising. The Dallas Mavericks. This is a team that is just 1 year removed from the NBA championship. So no one's doubting them to make the playoffs.
Or 2 years removed.
Yeah, 2 years removed. Well, so the last time that there was a regular NBA season, they won a championship. So, look, Dirk is hurt right now. Right. He just clearly was not in it last year. He was hurt. He was out of shape. And he just didn't have the season that he should have had. I like Rick Carlisle. I think he's a great coach. I think there's a lot of things he can do here. Jason Terry's gone. JJ Barrett's been gone. Jason Kidd is gone. They have a new team. They have a new situation here. Their expectations are a little bit different, but just watching them play and watching how they put an emphasis on the defensive side of the ball.
All right, Drew. Next up, we got our either-ors.
Who would you rather have, Evan Turner or Michael Beasley?
So, it's really difficult because I don't think either of these players are someone who you necessarily say, wow, second pick in the draft, and this is who you have. Evan Turner is more of an all-around player who's kind of a jack of all trades, and Michael Beasley is just kind of this pure scorer. But with that being said, I think Michael Beasley has a lot more talent, has a lot more upside, and can do some more things.
Agree on Michael Beasley. Everybody knows how talented of a player Michael Beasley really is, but he has yet to prove what he is in the NBA since being the second pick behind Derrick Rose. Now, this was a guy that people thought about taking number 1 over behind MVP Derrick Rose. Now, Evan Turner, here you have a guy who he hasn't lived up to the billing as a number 2 pick, but at least he gives you something. He can rebound. He can score a little bit. He can pass. He has a defined role in the NBA. Right now, if his career, was...
Better chance of winning the championship, Lakers or Spurs?
I'm going to go with the Lakers. I think the Spurs are going to phase out. I think the season's going to start just how it did last year. They're going to come out the gate hot, and they're going to get to the playoffs, and they're going to cool off. They're going to run into the Oklahomas, they're going to run into the Denvers, and they're going to get that, and that's when their streak is going to end. So I got Lakers. Lakers haven't even peaked yet. So once they start gelling, I got the Lakers.
Look, last year the Spurs. Look, when they were on their playoff run and they were buzzing through everybody right before. They looked like they were going to buzz right through Oklahoma City, and you know what? Oklahoma City, they stepped it up and did what they had to do.
But you got to remember that was a 66 game season.
But this team has been doing it for a while. The San Antonio Spurs have been doing it for a while though. Steve Nash is hurt. Kobe Bryant's extremely old. Their bench is really, really thin. And right now, the San Antonio Spurs look pretty good.
Kobe is old, but he's averaging 26 points a game, over 50% shooting.
How long is he going to be able to do that?
Mine was not even...
Who's more important to the team, Ricky Rubio or John Wall?
So I think the consensus is Ricky Rubio is a better player than John Wall. But this Minnesota team has got some players, and they've got a player, a Russian guy, Alexei Shved, who has not only played well, but played well in clutch minutes. The Washington Wizards do not have. Who do they have? AJ Price. They've got a couple of guys who are just Gennaro Pargo, who they just signed. He is not only the face of their franchise, he is the only hope that they can win games right now. And I don't think the Washington Wizards can even win 25 games if they don't have John Wall.
I'm going to go Ricky Rubio. Simply for the reason is, we saw what happened to the Wolves last year when Rubio was out. There were a couple of games out the playoffs. They lose Rubio, they plummet. We've seen that.
I know, but
with John Wall, I understand the fact that team has nobody, so John Wall is the only person you can really rely on. But Rubio, you heard it. That's all the time we got for today.
We're going to close it out with some final thoughts.
I'm going to leave you guys with a little tidbit about the 2009 draft pick Hasheem Thabeet, who was signed by the Thunder in the offseason. Last night he had about 10 points, 6 rebounds, and about 22 minutes of play. Albeit with 6 fouls, but look out for him for the next throughout the year. I think he's going to be a huge part of the Thunder success going forward, and I think his career is finally about to pick up.
Jacque Vaughn is in his first year as the Orlando Magic head coach. He's not that far removed from playing. He's played with great coaches like Jerry Sloan. He has a big project in the Orlando Magic. Dwight Howard is gone. They lost a lot of players. Jason Richardson's not there. He has an opportunity to really take this team, put them back into the playoffs, and have a lot of the doubters change their minds about the Orlando Magic and the loss of Dwight Howard. All right, Drew time.
Yeah. Round of applause, baby, make that clap. Drop it to the floor, make that clap. Round of applause, baby, make that clap. Drop it to the floor, make that clap. Let me see you bust it, bust it, bust it, bust it, bust it, bust it.
James Harden trade, would it be good or bad for OKC? James Harden trade, would it be good or bad for OKC?